Hello, friends. I am Dr. Niaz Ahmed, and you are watching Gen Next Edu Learners. So, today we are going to start a new topic from educational management. So, let's begin with the topic. So, our topic for today is principles of educational management. So, I have already uploaded the topics like educational concept of educational management, then objectives of educational management, and importance of educational management. So, if you have not watched these videos, then please watch these videos on my channel because these videos will help you to understand this topic well. So our topic for today is principles of educational management. So there are number of principles are there to manage education or for management. So Henry Fayol's principle is very significant principle which generally we are using for managing any organization. So today we are going to study Henry Fayol's principles of management and how it is used in managing education. So let's begin with the topic. So principles of educational management. So here Henry Fayol has given 14 principles. So 14 principles of as one of the classical organizational theory, that is principles of management, were developed by Henry Fayol and has been considered universally applicable to every type of organization. So Henry Fayol, the management guru, has given 14 principles for any classical organization. So this can be used or applicable universally to any type of organization. So here in education sector also we are using these 14 principles to manage institutions or education. So let's begin with these principles. So the first principle of Henry Fayol is division of work. So what do you mean by division of work? So here the work should be divided and also distributed. So the work should be divided among the individuals and the groups according to their specialization. So the work should be divided among the individuals and the group according to the specialization, and the effort and attention are focused on special portion of the task. So if the task is divided according to the specialization, then that person will be focusing his effort and attention on that special portions only of the task. So this will build up experience in that particular task for that individual, and he will continuously improve his or her skill because that person is doing that particular job continuously for a longer period of time. So he will develop his skill or improve his skills continuously. He will become more productive, and specialization leads to sureness and accuracy. So this specialization or this continuously improving his or her skills will lead to sureness and accuracy. There will be less chance of any mistakes or inaccuracy. Then if this thing happen, then it will increase the output of that individual. So there will be increase in the output of that individual, and this is the best way to use the human resource of organization. So the Henry Fayol has suggested that the first principle every organization should follow is division of work. So the work should be divided among the individuals according to the specialization, and the effort should be focused on that special portion of the task. This will build experience. This will develop the skills of that individual continuously. He will become more productive, and there will be less chance of any mistakes. Accuracy and sureness will increase, and it will lead to better output of that individual. So this is the best way the human resources can be utilized in the institution. Okay, after dividing the work, there should be authority and responsibility. So, authority and responsibility should be given to the individual after giving the task or dividing the task to that particular individual. So, authority and responsibility here. So, management is nothing but it is getting things done by others. We have already seen the definition of the management, that management is nothing but it is the getting things done by others. So, as a superior, You give directions to your subordinates. So a superior gives direction to his subordinates to perform the job. The superior has to give direction to his subordinates to perform job, and for that the superior has to exercise his authority. So then the superior may exercise his or her authority. Okay, so if you see, the authority and responsibility are very closely related, so they go by hand to hand. So this authority and responsibility are closely related. If you are having responsibility and if you're not having authority, then you'll not be able to perform your task efficiently. So these two have closely related or associated. So authority is the right to give orders, and powers to extract obedience. So if you just want to see what is authority, then it is the right of an individual to give orders, and he has the power to extract obedience from the subordinates. Okay, and if the responsibility is there, then the responsibilities are allocated, then the post holder needs the requisite authority to carry out these responsibilities. So if you're giving responsibility to any person or any post holder, then he will always have the prerequisite authority to carry out these responsibilities. Okay, so responsibility involves being accountable and naturally associated with authority. So if you are giving a task, then you are responsible for that task. So you are been always be accountable for any happening related to that task, and it is always associated with authority. So whoever assumes authority also assumes responsibility. The person who assumes authority should also assume the responsibility. So this is the second principle of Henry Fayol, that authority and responsibility should also be given to the individual if we are dividing the task. Then third one is discipline. So very important aspect of any organization is the discipline. So the third principle of Henry Fayol is discipline. So what is discipline? No, discipline is essential for smooth running of any institution, and without it, standard, consistency of action, adherence to rules and values will not be there. So no institution can prosper without discipline, because there will be no standard if there is no discipline. There will be no consistency of action. Okay. Suppose I am giving one example, that I'm a class teacher of any class, or if I'm a teacher of any class, I just always try to maintain discipline in the class. Then why I want to maintain discipline in the class? Because I want the consistency of action, that every student should keep quiet, because whatever I am teaching, one should grasp that thing. If there is no discipline in the class, then my teaching will be waste. So everybody should adherence to rule and values, and no institution could prosper without discipline, because everybody can come at any time. If there is no discipline, successful institution requires the common efforts of staff. So everybody should have the common efforts for prospering the institution over the success of institution. So if there is no common efforts from the staff, then there should be the provision for penalties, and it should be applied judicially to encourage this common effort. Okay, so if I want the common effort from the staff, and everybody who is not following the rules and regulation for this, then there should be a provision for penalty, and but this should be applied judicially, and this should be meant for encouraging the person who is not coming in the main frame of common efforts. Okay, so the penalty should be meant for taking that individual in the common effort scenario. Next is unity of command. The fourth principle of Henry Fayol is unity of command. So here the staff should receive orders and instructions from only one superior or manager only. Okay, so the staff should receive orders and instructions from one superior managers only. Why? Because the basic concern is that tensions and dilemmas arise where we report to two or more bosses. So two or more bosses have different expectations, different instructions, so there will always be tension and dilemmas and confusion if we are just reporting to two or more bosses. So one boss may want X, another may want Y, and the subordinate is caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Okay, so each staff should have only one boss with no other conflicting lines of commands. So if there will be one boss, then there will be one command, and the staff will be very clear that what they want they have to do. Okay, so there will be no confusion because there will be no conflicting lines of command if there is one boss. Okay, so the fourth principle is unity of command. The next is unity of direction. Okay, so the unity of direction means if there is one boss, then there should be one plan also. So there should be only one plan where all the staff members should be working on at a one time. Okay, so the people engage in the same kind of activities must have the same objectives in a single plan. Okay, so this is essential to ensure unity and coordination in the enterprise or in the organization. Okay, unity of command does not exist without unity of direction. So if there is one boss and he is working on too many plans, then there will be no progress in the organization. So if there is unity of command, then there will always be unity of direction, because the unity of command does not exist without unity of direction. So the entire institution should be moving towards a common objectives in a common direction. If there is one direction, then all the institutional member will be working on that common objectives. Then subordination of individual to general interest. So the person who are working in the institution should have the goals, and the goals of the institution should always be supreme. So the goals of the institution are always be supreme, and the interest of one staff should not take priority over the interest of the institution as a whole. So each and every member should sync their interest to the general interest of the institution. So it should not happen that interest of one person should take priority over the interest of the institution as a whole. So institutional interest should always be at supreme, should always be at high. Okay, and all the staff members should be working on that, or should be giving importance to that general interest of the institution. Then remuneration of the staff, that is a very important principle given by Henry Fayol. Remuneration of the staff. So here we have seen a lot of research has been done, and it is found that payment is an important motivator for the staff members to work hard. So there are many variables such as cost of living, supply of qualified staff, general working conditions, and the success of the institution. And this should be considered in determining the staff rate of pay. If you are deciding the pay of any staff, so these variables should be taken care of by any organization. That is cost of living, supply of qualified staff, general working conditions, success of the institution. This all factors should be taken into consideration while determining the staff rate of pay. So remuneration of work should be fair and accurate. It should always be fair and accurate, and it should afford maximum satisfaction to both employees and employer. So everybody, whether it is the employee or the employer, should be satisfied with that remuneration. Okay, so that is a very important factor for the progress of any institution, remuneration of the staff. Then centralization or decentralization. So centralization is nothing but it is the lowering the importance of subordinates role, where all the responsibility is taken by the manager or the boss. So no responsibility is distributed among the subordinates. So here there will be lowering the importance of subordinate roles. So it is desirable at least for overall control. Okay, so if the organization is small, then centralization can happen there. Okay, and decentralization is increasing the importance and the degree importance of the subordinates role, and here the degree to which centralization or decentralization should be adopted depends on the specific institution in which the manager is working. So if the institution is small, then centralization can be done, where all the responsibilities are taken by the manager, the principal, and a less distribution is there of the rules. But if the institution is very big like university, so a vice chancellor cannot take all the all the responsibility. So there should be decentralization of work should be there. It depends that which kind of institution the manager is working. Then scalar chain or line of authority. So the scalar chain of command of reporting relationship from principal to teacher. a clerk to the sensible, clear, and understood. Okay, so here there's a scalar chain where the teachers are communicating the principle in a very step by step manner, and the principal is also communicating with the teachers. Okay, so this is a chain like structure where the commands are reported in a relationship form. Okay, so here the communication is very sensible, clear, and understood. So a hierarchy is necessary for unity of command. So if you want a unity of command, so there should be hierarchy in communication. So but in some extraordinary conditions, lateral communication is also fundamental. Okay, as long as principal know that such communication is taking place. So suppose if there is very important, then the supervisor of the first floor can directly communicate to the supervisor of second floor, uh, because that will reduce the wastage of time to just report, go step by step and report to the principal. Then principal will give message to that supervisor, then there will be delay in communication. So if it is an urgency, then the supervisors can communicate with each other, but there should be, this should be in the knowledge of the principal that they are communicating with each other. So scalar chain refers to the number of levels in the hierarchy, from the ultimate authority to the lowest level in the institution. So there is a hierarchy. The communication is from lower level to higher level of authority, then higher level to lower level of authority. So it should not be overstretched and consist of too many levels, but basically should not be too much stressed. Then what happens, a lot of time has been spent on just giving them the message to the higher authority, then there will be always be delays in that. The next is order. The next principle given by Henry Ford is order. So here the people and materials should be in the right place at the right time in the institution. So there must be proper arrangement of materials. Similarly, there must be proper placement of staff also. So a Marathi teacher should be placed to teach Marathi, a Hindi teacher should be placed to teach Hindi. So the math teacher should not be given the responsibility to teach Marathi, because that will be not a proper arrangement. So there must be appointment to do right work at the right place. So this principle emphasizes on the proper utilization of physical and human resources. So this is the principle of order given by Henry Fayol. Next is equity. Okay, equity, very important principle given by Henry Fayol. So in the running of an institution, a combination of kindliness and justice is needed. So fair and equal treatment should be given to all the staff. So there should be no discrimination between the staff, and as far as possible, there should be equal division of work. So nobody should be overloaded with the work, and one person is just having a very little load of work. So this avoids conflicts in the institution if the institution is following equity in the organization. Okay, so this is very important principle. Stability of tenure. So time is needed for the staff to adapt to his or her work and perform it effectively. Okay, so if you are appointing any staff, so he needs time to adapt in the organization and to perform the task effectively. So while appointing a staff, the principal should assure the stability of tenure or job security to that staff members. Okay, so this creates sense of belongingness among the staff members, and stability of tenure promotes loyalty to the staff, to the institution, because now the staff is not thinking about the future jobs, whether he's not very much curious, very much having anxiety about whether he will lose the job or whether he will get permanent. Okay, so the staff member will work better if the job security and career progress are assured to them at the beginning of the appointment. So an insecure tenure and a high rate of employee turnover will affect the institution adversely, because most of the time the staff will be searching for another better prospect. Initiative. So it refers to taking the first step, thinking of a new ideas. Principal should encourage the staff to take initiative, allowing all the staff to show their initiative in some way is a source of strength for the institution. So the staff should come up with the new ideas. The principal should welcome their ideas. This approach will help the institution to grow, and this will create sense of belonging about the institution in the minds of the staff. So here the full freedom should be given to the staff members to innovate their ideas, to incorporate the new ideas. So here the principal should encourage the staff to take new ideas, allowing the staff to experiment those ideas in the institutions. Okay, so he should welcome those ideas, and this will help the institution to grow. And they will, if their ideas are incorporated in the schools or in the institution, then it will create sense of belongingness. The last principle is esprit de corps, and here it means union or the team spirit. So union is the strength or the team is spirit. So the educational management is a group activity. Here human resource is the great asset to the organizations. So principals should create spirit of teamwork among the staff. So if the staff work in a unity, the goal can be achieved easily. Okay, the successful institutions survive only when a feeling of unity infused in the group. So the principal or the leader should always encourage teamwork or team spirit among the staff members, because every institution should prosper when there is a group activity, because this human resource are the asset, and if they are working in a team, then maximum output can be achieved. Okay, any goal can be achieved easily. Okay, so here we have seen the principles of educational management and Henry Fayol's principle. So here, if you just want to remember, so here mnemonics are there. So mnemonics has Deepu focus on seeds. Okay, so Deepu focus on seeds will be the mnemonics of 14 principles of educational management. D for division of work, I for initiative, P for parity of authority and responsibility, U for unity of command, F for fair remuneration, O for order, C for centralization versus decentralization, U for unity of direction, S for subordination of individual interest to general interest, S for stability of tenure, E for spirit de corps, E for equity, D for discipline. So these are the 14 principles of Henry Fayol. So this is the mnemonics you can just by heart for these 14 principles. So thank you very much for watching this. So thanks for watching. Please like the video and subscribe the channel. Click the bell icon for notification of new videos. Thank you so much.